Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert has shoulder surgery. Joey Bosa allegedly plays the homophobic card while supporting his brother. And Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris is apparently one small step away from returning to Los Angeles. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos morning report. It is January 30th, 2023. It's a beautiful time to start off the week strong. And if you like the content that we put out about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notifications bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And by all means, comment. That's why I put this channel together in the first place. So before we go through the news and notes, a look at the scoreboard. The Clippers, they got steamrolled in Cleveland, 122-99. No Kawhi Leonard, no Paul George, no chance in hell. Brandon Boston scored 22 points off the bench to lead LA. Meanwhile, a somewhat similar story for the Lakers today. They're in Brooklyn to play the Nets at 4:30. No LeBron James, no Anthony Davis. James apparently has a sore left ankle that they want to take care of. Meanwhile, they also do not want to overwork Anthony Davis. You recall, he's only recently just got back from missing a month with a foot injury. So, Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert had surgery to repair a torn labrum in his left shoulder. That's a fine how do you do. We knew his ribs were jacked up earlier in the season. We don't know a whole hell of a lot about the shoulder. We believe he may have been injured when the Bolts played the Rams. The reason is that after that game, there was an injury report that suggested that Herbert had a problem in that shoulder. Now, keep in mind two things. It's his non-throwing shoulder. So it didn't seem like a big deal at the time. Also keep in mind, the Chargers lost their last two games of the year. And that was immediately after Herbert got hurt. So this was something they needed to take care of. He is expected to be ready in time for a full slate of off-season activities. But the Pro Bowl, the reimagined Pro Bowl, that's a no-go. That's not happening. Many people could be described as complicated. You know, good side, bad side, wouldn't you say? People have described me as complicated. Joey Bosa, now there's a complicated fellow. Definitely a devoted brother. That's good, right? He's a Charger, but you know what? His brother plays for the Niners, so he gets on a plane, flies all the way to Philadelphia to support him in his quest to go to the Super Bowl. Good man. Good idea. Possible homophobe. Maybe not such a good man. Maybe not such a good idea. Right? You don't want to get caught on tape throwing around homophobic slurs. Here's the deal. Some Eagles fans were heckling him as he was going into the stadium. Bosa was allegedly caught on tape screaming homophobic slurs. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. They have the tape. I did not watch the tape because there are a lot funnier things on the internet than some dude throwing around homophobic slurs. It doesn't really move me that. I don't want to hear it. I just don't want to hear it. I would rather watch the one clip that's been over and over of old Asian guys hitting themselves in the nuts with bricks as a way to prove that they're the toughest kung fu guy in China. That's hilarious. I don't need to hear some guy throwing around homophobic slurs. And besides, there are funnier things to talk about. Like another heckler, same game, was asking Bosa if he was okay getting fined by the NFL for cussing out the refs. To which Bosa replied, "I can afford it, you effing broke bitch." Now that is funny. That is funny. Because you can keep it relevant. You don't have to play the homophobe card. Just point out the poor bastard lives in Philadelphia and is eating the government cheese. You win the argument. I could burn piles of money in my fireplace if I feel like it. You eat government cheese. You win the argument. You don't have to go homophobe. In a non-related story, I too have been described complex, but that's in the opposite way. I am not a homophobe, but I'm a horrible brother. So there's that. The Dallas Cowboys ran Kellen Moore out of town as offensive coordinator, but weep not for the man. He's already got an interview scheduled to be the Chargers offensive coordinator. That makes 7 men who are in the running for that gig. 4 of them have already been interviewed. Now, there would be 8 men in the running for that job, but Frank Reich took the head coaching gig over in Carolina. As for Moore, the best way to describe his tenure with the Cowboys is that Dallas put up just amazing numbers during the regular season and then just face planted in the playoffs. So there you are. Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris was advised by Denver that he is no longer in the running to coach the Broncos, which I'm guessing is not that big of a deal to Morris. He is waiting to hear from Indianapolis, where he has had multiple interviews to become the Colts head coach. I can't tell you a whole lot on the Colts head coaching front other than to say that there are other candidates who are getting second interviews and that former NFL head coach Dan Quinn has removed himself from consideration for the Indianapolis gig. Now, as you know, I go through a lot of random stories about local teams for this channel. You know, your major media outlets, your random blogs. Lots of pointless gossip, lots of pointless speculation. One of my favorite stories over the weekend was this one guy who was chirping about how he knew who the Rams should pick up to become the heir apparent to Matthew Stafford. Boy, guys, you know what would be an amazing pick? You know what would be totally brilliant? Stetson Bennett. Why, he's a proven winner. He's won back-to-back titles with Georgia. What could go wrong? Take Stetson Bennett. Well, here's something that could go wrong. He's a drunkard. So there's that. Allegedly a drunkard. Let's be clear. It's an alleged drunkard. Don't get me wrong. I'm a drunkard. But I'm not trying to be the quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams. Look, here's what happened with Bennett. He got arrested on a public intoxication charge in Dallas over the weekend. By the way, I don't know if he is a drunkard. I'll let the court system figure that one out for me. But I can tell you that the dude isn't even ranked in CBS Sports rankings for quarterbacks going into the upcoming NFL draft. So, really, is he really the heir apparent to Matthew Stafford? I wouldn't go that far. I don't see Sean McVay putting off retirement to train this kid. Andrew Friedman went on satellite radio and said he envisions LA's infield to be Max Muncy at third, Gavin Lux at shortstop, Miguel Vargas, of all people, playing second base, and Freddie Freeman over at first. Now, the Dodgers did trade for a shortstop from Miami, Miguel Rojas, but Friedman said he believes Rojas is going to be more of a utility option, somebody who could appear anywhere at any time. This alignment, though, is still a bit of a surprise in the sense that multiple media outlets speculated on who goes where. They did not anticipate Vargas playing second base. For example, Vargas was always considered more of a third base prospect, and Max Muncy, for example, has experience playing second base. So we're just going to have to see how that tweaks out in spring training, but don't be surprised if Miguel Vargas is your opening day second baseman, not third. We mentioned former Dodgers reliever Joe Kelly is writing a book. Now, in entertainment, whenever a performer mentions in a live show how it's great to be in this city and the crowd goes bananas, that is called a cheap pop. Kelly went for the cheap pop. He called Dodger fans the best in baseball. Yeah, give the man a cheap pop. Go right ahead. But the joke's on him, because it is true that about 4 million people go to Dodger Stadium every year, but there's only 3 bookstores in LA. So, are you really going to sell a lot of books with that little pat on the head? Not necessarily sure about that. Can I continue to sell you on the Rui Hachimura trade that the Lakers put in last week? Now, you can look at that deal and say, big whoop, it's not a big name. And you know what? That's fair. It's totally fair. But it could also be looked at from another angle. That it's not the first big trade in the trade deadline cycle, but also something that could be spread out to benefit the Lakers in the free agent cycle coming up this summer. Here's how. Hachimura is a restricted free agent at the end of the year. That means that the Lakers, even if they wind up being over the salary cap, can match any deal to keep him. So let's say the Lakers make another trade. Let's say they trade for somebody right now that keeps him below the salary cap, but next year puts him over the cap. You could still keep Hachimura. So you, for example, and I'm not saying I have any inside dope, you've been reading a lot of trade rumors probably about Bogan Bogdanovic. Again, I don't have inside dope, but you could theoretically create a trade for him or Gary Trent Jr. and still keep one of those and Hachimura for next year. So Hachimura wouldn't be the third option, he would be the fourth or the fifth, and that makes the Lakers a much stronger team. There was also a column on CBS Sports that claimed Coach Darvin Ham is costing them games, including the loss in Boston on Saturday. The writer, Brad Botkin, didn't get to the point until about 6 or 7 paragraphs in the story. And you guys sometimes say I get a little wordy. The buried thesis that he wrote was that if Ham were on his game, the Lakers would not need to rely on getting a call from the ref, and then Botkin built an exceptionally weak case. He faulted Ham for not ordering the Lakers to intentionally foul when the Celtics had the ball with less than 10 seconds to go. Boston, they whipped the ball around the arc. Al Horford gets an open look at a three, which he missed. That's not the point, Botkin writes. Well, it seems like it's the point to me, pal. You're gonna have to create a stronger case than that. He missed the shot. Something called the Action Network is asserting that Kawhi Leonard told the Clippers to trade for a point guard. Here's the thing. The Action Network is not a reputable sports news site. It is a sports gambling site, which is not reputable, okay? I mean, it's hard for me to sit there and believe that some goomba named Frankie the Dutchman, has inside sources on Clippers trade rumors. If you want to sit there and say, oh, well, the Eagles in the snow, they've covered the spread in their last 5 games, I'm Frankie the Dutchman, then I would buy that argument. But don't tell me you know what's going on in the Clippers locker room. The Bruins have added a little size to the class of 2024. Offensive lineman Joshua Glanz of Eastlake is coming to UCLA. He is the second commitment in the 2024 recruiting class. He is a 3-star prospect. I don't have a lot of other information about the guy, but slowly but surely, UCLA is looking to the future. Phoenix Copley is 15-3 for the LA Kings since his call-up from the Ontario Reign. In Friday night in Florida, the man stopped 45 shots. But still, would you trust him for a playoff run? Right? I was reading Twitter over the weekend, and a lot of Kings fans, they are just begging the Kings to smooth out their goaltending situation, particularly by asking Jonathan Quick, begging Jonathan Quick to retire. Look, I'm a Kings fan, obviously, but you do realize that's not fair, right? I mean, you wouldn't have 2 Stanley Cups without this guy. I think he should call his own shots on the way out the door. I mean, I get that sports is a what have you done for me lately industry, but you do realize Jonathan Quick is the greatest goaltender in franchise history, right? You do know that, right? I mean, why don't you just tell Drew Doughty and Anze Kopitar to go to hell while you're at it? I don't understand. Now, if you want to sit there and say the Kings need to figure out how to solve this goaltending situation without insulting Jonathan Quick, I can appreciate that argument. The man is paid his bona fides. He gets to call his way out the door. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Let me know what you think about Joey Bosa or Justin Herbert. Let me know what you think about that Dodger infield for next year. And if you enjoy the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We talk LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corta El Queso production. Take care.